You should know about the way you start your day can impact muscle growth, fat loss, motivation, productivity, and many other factors related to being an overall more successful person you might have. Heard that simply making your bed in the morning can help fuel you to get more complex tasks done throughout the rest of the day well. There are also certain morning habits that could either help or hurt your ability to build more muscle and develop a more attractive physique, and one of the best morning habits, if you're serious about building muscle, is to have a big breakfast. Even though you don't necessarily need to eat breakfast to build muscle, it's a good idea to start your morning with a meal. If you want to maximize muscle growth, this is because the main dietary requirement for building muscle is to be in a calorie surplus, and if you want to bulk up without adding too much body fat in the process, you're going to mostly be eating natural foods that are very filling per calorie contained. So the more you space out your meals, the more time you'll have to digest the large amount of calories you're required to take in on a daily basis. To grow, of course, many people make the mistake of using mass gainers and supplements to increase their calorie count to meet their daily surplus requirements. Not only does this lead to fat gain due to the sugar content of these mass gainer supplements, but there's also evidence that unprocessed foods lead to better results than processed ones. This is why you may have heard that you should try to eat whole meals over supplements whenever possible. With protein, for example, we have research that shows that whole milk stimulates more protein synthesis than skim milk, even when the whole milk contains less protein than the skim milk. This is most likely due to the food processing, because we have other studies that found that even after adding milk fat to casein, which is a milk-based protein source, it didn't end up increasing muscle protein synthesis. Aside from processing, we also don't know what we don't know, so chances are high we haven't discovered every vital vitamin, mineral, and chemical found in real food and how those substances impact muscle growth. So point is, start your day with a big breakfast made up of whole real foods to help you add a bunch of calories to your daily total early on while still giving you time to digest everything before your next meal. Another habit that can be very beneficial for certain people is to get your workout done soon after you wake up. Even though research shows that you'll most likely be able to lift more weight and feel stronger with late afternoon and evening workouts, you're not going to make any progress at all if you're skipping your afternoon or evening workouts. So if you struggle getting to the gym after work, or you have a busy schedule that typically leaves you exhausted, then make sure that you get your workout done first thing in the morning. Completing your workout first thing in the morning is the solution if you find yourself making excuses later in the day, because it guarantees that you actually get it done, which is way more important than a slight strength boost that you'll potentially get assuming you make it to the gym later on in the day. This goes hand in hand with another thing you may want to do first thing in the morning, which is to drink coffee. Of course, coffee isn't required, but it could benefit muscle growth, especially if you train in the morning. Research shows that a dose of around 250 milligrams of caffeine in the morning raises neuromuscular readiness to perform close to afternoon levels. Caffeine also increases your performance and motivation to train, so if you train in the morning, consider drinking a coffee or maybe a pre-workout supplement with caffeine beforehand. Another thing that can boost your energy and provide motivation in the morning is taking a cold shower. Now, taking a cold shower isn't going to make your muscles grow on its own, but taking a cold shower will increase your energy levels and your mood, while benefiting your mental toughness, or in other words, your ability to do things that might be uncomfortable or you don't really want to do. Many people experience that if they take a cold shower in the morning, they become more productive throughout the rest of the day because they've already had their first win and got the momentum going. And that can help motivate you to actually do your workout. On top of that, cold showers can reduce inflammation in your body. One of the ways a cold shower can do this is by decreasing levels of TNF-alpha, which is a potent molecule that increases inflammation. This is a beneficial effect because excessive levels of inflammation can slow muscle growth. So go ahead and take a cold shower in the morning, especially if it'll motivate you to make other good decisions throughout the rest of the day, like eating healthy food and getting to the gym. Another highly beneficial habit for muscle growth is to eat a good amount of protein early on. Most people struggle with taking in enough protein throughout the day, and protein is very filling. So when you're trying to build muscle, protein is the likely macronutrient that's going to give you problems as far as eating enough of it. That's one reason why it's a good idea to have a sufficient protein source along with your breakfast. Even though you can gain muscle with intermittent fasting, for many people cramming meals into an 8-hour feeding window can make it difficult to consume the calorie surplus they need to in order to support muscle growth. The second reason why you want to have a sufficient amount of protein for breakfast is because various studies show that spreading protein intake more evenly throughout the day across at least 4 meals can produce better muscle-building results than having either a skewed protein intake that drastically changes from meal to meal or having fewer meals throughout the day. The next habit is actually the first thing that you want to do: set an alarm and wake up at the same time most mornings, obviously on the weekends. You can sleep in some more, but going to bed and waking up around the same time every day is one of the best ways to enhance the quality of your sleep, as shown by a number of studies. Sleep is almost right up there with diet and exercise in terms of its impact on muscle growth. Research also shows that people with a regular sleep schedule tend to be leaner than people without a sleep schedule, regardless of how many hours they sleep per night. So one of the best ways to stay consistent with your sleep schedule is by waking up around the same time every morning. If you're consistent with the time that you wake up every morning, you'll likely also naturally start falling asleep at around the same time every night. Now, if you leave for work or school in the morning, you'll also want to pack a lunch. Not only does this allow you to have a more evenly distributed protein intake, but it also helps you hit your calorie surplus target for the day. If you don't pack a lunch, you can order something out, but you probably won't know how many calories and macros it contains, and most of the time there's extra oil or sugar added, while protein gets minimized because it's more expensive, and that makes it more difficult to stay lean while gaining muscle. Also, by having your lunch prepared beforehand, you'll be able to get a bite in even if you're busy with work and you don't have the time to go out and order food. Another thing you should do in the morning is get rehydrated. The average person loses about 10 to 14 ounces of water throughout the day through respiration, and a large percentage of this loss happens during sleep. The exact amount you lose when you're sleeping is largely determined by whether you sweat at night and whether you breathe through your mouth or your nose, since mouth breathing causes more water loss. Because of this water loss, it's likely that you'll be in at least a slight state of dehydration when you first wake up, which actually impairs muscle growth. The reason is that dehydration reduces protein synthesis and raises protein breakdown rates within muscle cells, making it harder to build muscle and recover from your workouts. Rehydrating first thing in the morning is even more important if you happen to work out in the morning, because even if you're slightly dehydrated, research shows that it can also reduce your motivation to train, increase feelings of fatigue, and decrease exercise performance. So have a glass of water when you wake up, especially if you wake up feeling thirsty. Next, it can definitely highly help to get some kind of bright light exposure in the morning, or at least in the early afternoon. Light exposure has a significant impact on your circadian rhythm, also known as your internal clock. This internal clock impacts a wide range of physiological processes, including the release of hormones. For example, it influences cortisol levels to rise in the morning to make you feel more awake, while inversely causing cortisol to drop at night in place of melatonin to help you fall asleep. One of the best ways to support your circadian rhythm is by exposing yourself to bright light in the morning. This signals your internal clock that it is in fact morning, which is likely why studies show that morning bright light exposure improves feelings of alertness, vitality, performance, and enthusiasm. And doing this first thing in the morning will help you fall asleep in the evening. This is highly beneficial because high-quality sleep is vital for muscle growth. Now, if you don't get much sunlight, you might want to supplement with vitamin D. In the morning, vitamin D is crucial for your body, but the problem is that 41.6% of people in the United States are deficient. A deficiency in vitamin D is not only detrimental to your health, but research also shows that your vitamin D levels influence strength development, exercise performance, and your recovery from workout. Studies also show that men that have sufficient vitamin D levels tend to have significantly higher testosterone. For example, in a study where healthy men took 3,332 international units of vitamin D daily for a year, they ended up with 25% higher testosterone compared to those that took a placebo. Finally, one last thing that you might want to do every morning is meditate. It's well known that excess stress is bad for pretty much every aspect of your health and well-being. In fact, it can even cause you to die sooner, but excess stress can also impair muscle growth and your gym performance. A study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning research found a 9 times greater percentage change in the thigh circumference in a low-stress group compared to a high-stress group. Another study saw a twofold difference in the rate of recovery between low and high-stress subjects. In other words, having a lot of psychological stress had the participants' recovery capacity cut in half. Fortunately, meditation can help. You don't need to spend any Money. Either you can just look up guided meditations on YouTube for free and practice meditating 15 minutes every single morning. So that about wraps it up. As always, I hope this video has helped give you some ideas. If it has, make sure you subscribe to the channel.